When the grocery store shelves empty and the supply chain snap, your family will be hungry because the average household spends $8,000 yearly on food that comes from thousands of miles away. And one disruption is all it takes for that entire system to collapse. But your backyard can produce 80% of what you need. Here's how to feed your family for a year using nothing but dirt, seeds, and a 10,000-year-old system. You don't need acres of land or perfect soil, because what you really need is a blueprint that was perfected by John Seymour through 6 fundamental laws. Work with nature instead of fighting it. Embrace diversity because it equals survival. Create natural environments. Return what you take from the soil. Feed the soil rather than the plant. And think in complete systems where soil feeds plants, plants feed animals, animals feed soil, and you're the manager. Method 1 is to design your garden by zones. 10 square feet is enough for greens and herbs. 50 square feet can produce hundreds of pounds, and 200 square feet feeds a family year-round. Zone 1 should be right outside your door for daily harvest crops like lettuce and herbs. Zone 2 contains main beds with tomatoes, beans, and squash needing weekly attention. And Zone 3 is for perennials like fruit trees and berries that you plant once and harvest for years. Your raised beds should be 18 inches deep and 4 feet wide, so you can reach 2 feet from each side without stepping on the soil because compacted soil is dead soil. Run beds north to south for optimal sunlight and leave 2 feet between them for access. Method 2 is to feed the soil instead of the plant because chemical fertilizers kill soil life and create dependency. Compost is free, packed with nutrients, and alive with beneficial microbes that transform productivity in ways synthetic fertilizers never could. Start a compost pile by alternating brown material like leaves and straw with green material like scraps and grass clippings. Keep it moist. Turn it every few weeks, and in 3 to 6 months you'll have black gold worth more than anything from a garden center. You need animals to close the nutrient loop. 3 chickens only need 10 square feet, while giving you 1,000 eggs yearly, plus the best fertilizer. However, you must compost chicken manure first because fresh manure burns plants. If you can't keep chickens, get rabbits because they're quiet, clean, their manure works fresh, they breed fast, and that's protein. Animals close the loop because you feed them scraps. They give you eggs, meat, and fertilizer. That fertilizer feeds your soil. Your soil feeds your plants. Your plants feed you and your animals, and nothing is wasted. Method 3 is to rotate crops by plant family. Vegetables share nutrient needs, pests, and diseases by family, which means planting the same family in the same spot yearly creates a paradise for pests and turns soil into a wasteland. Divide your garden into 4 sections and rotate on a 4-year cycle. Year 1 gets legumes like beans and peas that fix nitrogen. Year 2 gets brassicas like cabbage and kale that are heavy feeders. Year 3 gets Solanaceae like tomatoes and peppers that are moderate feeders. And Year 4 gets roots and alliums like carrots and onions that are light feeders. 4 years later, when you return to legumes, the pests are dead, diseases are gone, the soil has recovered, and you're starting fresh without chemicals. Method 4 is to grow smart by focusing on maximum return crops. Start with potatoes, where 100 square feet produces 200 pounds, which is a year of carbs that store for months. Beans are protein-rich, prolific, and fix nitrogen. Planting every 2 weeks gives a continuous harvest, while dry beans store forever. Winter squash stores for 6 months and one plant produces 10 to 20 squash. For tomatoes, use paste varieties for canning because they have high yield and low water content. Onions and garlic, planted in fall and harvested in summer, store for months. Greens like lettuce, spinach, and kale are fast-growing and provide a continuous harvest. Succession planting is key because you don't want everything at once, creating a massive August harvest followed by nothing. So plant in waves, with lettuce every 2 weeks and beans every 2 weeks, creating a continuous trickle rather than a flood, followed by famine. Method 5 is to preserve everything because growing is half the battle, and keeping it through winter is the other half. Canning preserves tomatoes, beans, pickles, jams, and sauces. While you need jars, lids, and a canner, the jars last forever, and one Saturday can put up 50 jars of tomato sauce, which is a year of pasta. Drying works for herbs, peppers, tomatoes, and fruit using a dehydrator, oven, or sun. Dried food lasts years. Fermenting creates sauerkraut, kimchi, and pickles using just salt, thyme, and anaerobic conditions. Root cellaring stores vegetables for months in cool, dark spaces without processing. Freezing is fastest. You blanch vegetables first, then freeze, preserving maximum nutrients. You're not just growing for August, you're growing for December, February, and next April because preservation turns a summer garden into a year-round food system. Method 6 is the deep bed method because traditional gardens waste half their space on pathways, build beds 18 to 24 inches deep. Never walk on them so the soil stays loose and roots go deep, accessing water and nutrients. This means you can plant much closer together and dramatically increase yield per square foot. Traditional gardens space tomatoes 3 feet apart, but in deep beds, you plant 18 inches apart because you never step on the growing area, literally doubling your yield. The same applies to carrots, beets, lettuce, and everything else. Plus, plants shade out weeds. Dense planting conserves moisture, and deep roots mean more drought resistance. Mark your 4-foot wide bed. Dig 12 inches down and loosen the soil. Add 6 to 12 inches of compost on top. Mix lightly, and you've created a root paradise. Maintain by adding compost yearly without digging or tilling. Just top dress in spring and fall, and worms and microbes will incorporate it while soil structure stays intact. Method 7 is to save your own seeds so you never buy them again. For tomatoes, let a few over-ripen. Scoop seeds into a jar. Add water. Ferment 2 to 3 days. Rinse, dry, and store. They're good for 4 to 6 years. Beans and peas are easier because you let pods dry on the plant, shell the seeds, and store them. They last 3 years. Peppers require letting one fully ripen, scraping seeds, drying, and storing for 2 to 4 years. Lettuce is easiest because you let plants bolt. Shake seed heads into a bag and you'll have hundreds of seeds. Seed saving makes you independent from supply chains. You're selecting for plants that thrive in your specific conditions, and over time, your seeds become uniquely adapted to your soil and climate. Method 8 is to manage pests without poison because pesticides kill beneficial insects, poison soil, and contaminate food. Start with prevention because healthy plants in rich soil naturally resist pests. So keep soil rich, water consistently, and rotate crops to break pest cycles. Physical barriers work well, with row covers keeping insects out, copper tape stopping slugs, and collars stopping cutworms. Beneficial insects are allies, with ladybugs eating aphids and lacewings eating caterpillars. You attract them by planting flowers like marigolds, alyssum, and yarrow. Hand-picking is tedious but effective and free, so check plants daily. Squish aphids, drop beetles in soapy water, and keep populations controlled. For serious infestations, use organic sprays like neem oil, insecticidal soap, or BT, which are targeted and break down quickly. You're not at war with nature. You're managing an ecosystem and tipping the balance in your favor without destroying beneficial organisms. Method 9 is to start small and scale gradually because the biggest mistake is planting too much, getting overwhelmed, and burning out. Start with 1 or 2 beds totaling 50 square feet. Grow 5 crops like tomatoes, beans, lettuce, carrots, and herbs. Master those, then expand next year. Next year, add another bed with potatoes and onions while adding chickens. The year after, add another bed with squash and peppers while getting rabbits. You're scaling gradually while learning and avoiding burnout. Within 3 years, you'll have a system producing serious food. Within 5, you'll be preserving hundreds of pounds. And it gets easier because soil improves, systems dial in, knowledge compounds, and you're being consistent with small, smart, sustainable growth. Here's the reality. The average family spends $8,000 yearly on food. With 100 feet of garden space, 3 chickens, and basic preservation, you can cut that cost by 60% to 80% while producing your own tomatoes, beans, squash, potatoes, onions, greens, and eggs year-round. That's not a hobby. That's a parallel food system. That's real independence from a fragile supply chain. And when supply chains hiccup, when prices spike, when shortages hit, you're insulated because you're not panicking at the grocery store. You're walking into your backyard, opening your pantry, and feeding your family from your own production. This isn't about going off-grid. This is about building resilience, taking control of one of the most fundamental human needs, food, and not being completely dependent on a system thousands of miles away that could fail at any time. The system works because it's been working for 10,000 years. You just have to build it 1 bed at a time. So start today by picking a spot. Build your first bed. Plant something. Feed your soil with compost. Add chickens when ready. Preserve your harvest. Rotate your crops. And scale gradually as your knowledge grows. Your backyard is a sleeping factory capable of producing thousands of dollars worth of food every year. And all you have to do is wake it up.